What's up, creepers and geekers? Chris the Atari Creep. It's rant time. Hey, what's going on? I hope everyone's doing well. So, here's a bone I've been wanting to pick for a long time. And I've never really, truly got the gusto to do it. And I figured now would be a good time for it with the RetroBlox being talked about quite a bit now. We're not going to be talking about that specifically. But just in generally, these multi-system retro consoles, it's nothing new. They originally started off with just, one little box that you could play some NES games on, Genesis. Then they became like multiple systems, all the way up until, say, like the RetroN 5 or the Retro Freak. And now there's talks of this other modular system, which seems pretty cool. I believe it's going to have a built-in CD drive that'll play multiple systems. And then you can buy whatever other systems to attach to it. I haven't really looked into it too much, so don't quote me on a lot of that. That's just what I'm getting from what I've seen. And it does seem pretty cool. It's a little system that's going to emulate in a different way, by the way, a lot of different systems. And if you don't care to have NES capabilities, you don't have to buy that one. You could just get the ones that you want to play, and Bob's your fucking uncle. But I think, what is the point of these things, okay? Obviously, they're trying to capitalize on a craze. That you can't convince me otherwise, okay? I know with at least the RetroBlox, it's being done by people who have love for the industry, and they truly do love retro gaming, according to what they say. And I feel it's pretty genuine. But if you ask me, the Creep, personally, it's about convenience, okay? We have all this crap, and I know there's people that have tons more than I do. And it's just a pain in the ass sometimes pulling this shit off the shelf or getting a huge shelving system to plug to your TV, and you got multiple splitter boxes and crap everywhere and controllers and cords and all that. So to have one unit that you could plug into a television that'll play a good mass of those console systems and what have you is amazing. You got one power supply, you have one cord going to the TV, and whatever controllers that you may or may not need for the systems, okay? Amazing. The concept really gives me a fucking Woody. Nice rager. But there's a trend with them that I've been seeing, and this goes all the way back to the very first one. They usually start from about 1985, conveniently enough with the NES, and they usually work their way this way. There has, as far as I know, has never been a talk of anything, and I'm just going to call this pre-8-bit, okay? I know some of the stuff we're going to talk about were 8-bit computer lines, and some consoles may have had 8-bit, capabilities, but let's just simplify and call it pre-8-bit, meaning NES in before or NES in after, okay? So we set that rule. That's my little key, my little map key down the bottom. Oh, hey, hi. Yeah, new shirt. I didn't like how the rant went originally, so I'm redoing it the next day. So, okay, so we got all that out of the way, pre and post NES, okay? I want to talk about why there's no love for the pre-NES stuff. Why don't we have our own convenient machine to play the games that we love, the ones that we started out on? The first topic that generally comes to mind is, well, there's really not a market for it, Chris. And to that I say, bullshit. You're online right now. When this video's over, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to Google these words. Either retro game, classic gaming, vintage gaming, old school gaming, any kind of gaming with the variance of it happened a long time ago. And I will guarantee you'll come up with as many sites and message boards and forums and Facebook pages and YouTube pages and Reddit pages and everything combined for all these systems we're talking about. We're talking about the pre and post NES stuff. I know just from the circles I hang out in that there is a love. Now, a handful of people are like, yeah, I collect all this stuff and I have a few Atari cartridges, but it's not my main focus because I'm an NES whore. And that's okay, but there is a market for it. There really is. And if you'll bear with me and you stick around, I got kind of a little rant I want to go on to kind of prove my point. Whether it works or not, whatever. I'm going to say it anyway. So, George A. Romero's original zombie trilogy, Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, and of course, my favorite, Day of the Dead. Okay? We'll break those into blocks. Night of the Living Dead, the immortal classic, 1968. It is so important to this day that it is registered nationally as an important art document of our culture. It really is. It's where it started, especially with the zombie stuff. You know, before the zombies were just kind of mindless slaves, and they became flesh eaters, and it brought a whole new level to the horror industry post Psycho. Okay, which, in my opinion, is the birth of modern horror. But we're not talking about that. So let's take Night of the Living Dead and we'll lump in the Ataris, your Intellivisions, and your Colecos, okay? 10 years from there or so, Dawn of the Dead comes out. Now this, people celebrate this movie. There are groups that get together and watch this movie religiously. This is, for them, the beginning, the end, the all-being, we bow and we're not worthy. That's your NES and Sega cats. You can go 16, 8-bit, even up to 64-bit if you really want to. But Dawn of the Dead's where I would lump those people in. And then you have Day of the Dead, which is kind of your niche thing. That's where I'm putting, like, say, TurboGrafx 16 and maybe a couple other systems that I'm not going to mention. So if I don't mention your favorite obscure system, I'm sorry. But we'll just leave it at that. It's kind of a niche thing. It's something that didn't get a lot of love to begin with, because when Day came out, it wasn't accepted well. Everyone wanted that comic book style of Dawn, and what they got was a grittier, more true to life, I know it's a zombie movie, angrier movie. The TurboGrafx 16 didn't start off very strong at all. It wasn't advertised in many markets. They only hit the big few. I was fortunate enough to play it. I had a friend whose mom bought it, and if she had never done that until the internet, I would never even known it fucking existed. But over years, much like Day of the Dead, it has grown a following. People now appreciate it more and see what it was. And even though neither one of those items made sense in the 80s, and whenever Turbo came out, I can't tell you, I don't know offhand. It is loved now. Maybe not as much as the other two blocks, but there is a big following for them. Okay? But let's put Day aside and just focus on Night and Dawn. Depending on where and what you're reading, you will get convinced that there is a higher level of love for, say, Dawn or Night. But if you look at it as a whole, they're pretty equal. And that's how I feel about the pre-NES stuff and the post-NES stuff. It may seem like that there's a majority going one way and a minority going the other way, but if you look at it as a whole, they're equal. They're up there with interest, okay? So to tell me there wouldn't be a market for the console, it's complete bullshit in my mind, and you cannot convince me otherwise, okay? Another point, people are talking about cost. Oh my God, you know what something like that would cost? Well, how much does it cost to make a machine like the Retro Freak? Seriously? Look at how many things that thing does. The RetroN 5, which is the most common one here in the States. Look at everything it does, and they're continuing to release stuff to expand it. And you can't tell me that someone can't take a computer board or PCB board or whatever they're called these days, put a chip in there, and program it to play Atari, Intellivision, and Coleco, okay? The cartridge ports can't be that expensive. I know the Atari ones are somewhat readily available. I've been able to buy them. Now, as far as the other two systems, your Coleco and Intellivision, I can't tell you offhand. I do apologize. I didn't research that enough. But it can't be that hard. It can't be that hard to even mold it and then get it together. But even if it's on the market, it can't be really that expensive. So I don't think a price point would hinder it at all, especially if my first point is true. There's a market for it. So if you price it comparably to all this other stuff that's coming out catering to the post-NES stuff, then I don't see the problem there. Next point, people will talk about the controllers. Chris, but the controllers for the ColecoVision And the television, they have the buttons and the keypads and all that stuff. Well, again, you're programming this machine. How hard would it be to come up with a solid controller that comes with the system that has the keypad? If you look at the controllers, they're different, but they're pretty much the same. They're directional pads in a different spot, but it's the same. They have a directional pad, or whatever you want to call that thing on the Coleco. 2 buttons on the side and a keypad in the front that looks like a goddamn telephone. So you can't tell me that when you put in a Coleco cartridge and you have their, say, dedicated controller, we'll get to real controllers here in a second, that when you flip the switch to say, and I would say this would need a switch, say I'm playing Coleco right now, that controller can't be mapped automatically inside the machine. You can't tell me that's not possible. And reverse that with the television. They both have the same exact friggin' layout, pretty much. And there's no way that can't work. Now, as far as Atari, we're not even going to get into the controller with that. That's easy enough. I mean, come on. It's a 9-pin connector. You just need something with directional and 2 buttons because of the 7800 would need 2 buttons in a lot of cases, okay? That's easy enough. But all these other consoles for your Nintendos, Colecos, and whatever other system, Nintendo and Sega, have ports in the front for the original hardware. Now, I know the Coleco used the same 9-pin that the Atari did. And again, when you flip the switch to tell the console what system you're using, it should be able to adapt to whatever you're playing with, okay? I can't see that being too hard. Now, if I'm wrong there and you're a tech guy and you tell me it's impossible, which I still won't believe you, let me know. But I don't personally see how that could be impossible. So I know the Coleco uses 9-pin. The Atari uses 9-pin. I don't know, and again, I'm sorry I didn't research this, what the television used as far as the controller. If I remember correctly, I thought those were hardwired in, but I could be way off. I'll look into it and I'll put a note saying I'm an idiot or I was right. But regardless, enough with the controllers. I don't see that as being a problem. Licensing. Come on, are you kidding me? Licensing can't even be close to a problem. Look at who got the Coleco name last year. Okay? I'm not even going to get into that. But let's look at it this way. You have systems that are emulating Nintendo and Sega products primarily. Nintendo and Sega are still very relevant companies. Very relevant. And if they can get away with doing that with the 2 relevant companies, you can't tell me that Atari, Coleco, and a television can't be worked out in the same way. Look at the at-game stuff, all the flashbacks. All 3 of those licenses have flashback units out there. Another point, you can't convince me otherwise. It can't be a licensing issue. And it can't really be that hard to emulate this stuff because, I know we're going back to my second point, but this little unit here has the capability to play the entire Atari 2600 library with a few exceptions, under $40. And it's this tiny little thing. I doubt it probably costs $10 to make. If even that much, okay? And we all know that it's going to be made in China. And unfortunately, people are going to make it, for a bowl of rice a week. So the price point, we're going back to that again. It won't be that bad. It won't cost too much to make. It shouldn't cost too much to purchase. The fan base is there. I promise you it is. And as far as physically putting it together, it can't be hard. And I guess after all this, what I'm trying to get at is I want my RetroN, whatever, okay? I want it to play 26 and 7800 in one slot. Come on, there's 2 systems, 1 slot. How hard can that be? Maybe some of the Atari 8-bit computer line stuff. That's 1 cartridge point for a number of games, all the way up to the XEGS, okay? And then you get your Coleco and Nintendo. So you have 4 slots tops? And of course, I know people are going to come out and go, well, what about this and what about that? Let's just focus on those main things. And then we'll little stepping stones. I want the same convenience that the Nintendo and the Coleco snobs have. Have you seen the size of the controller for the ColecoVision? The fucking thing, the power supply. The thing is fucking massive. And of course, these systems are huge. So it goes back to that. It's a pain in the ass and all that. I just want one system I could plug into this TV and just have one cord going to the TV, one cord going to the plug, and have the same convenience that everyone post NES has. And that's all I'm saying. So I want to know what your thoughts are on this. And I know I'm going to get a lot of opposition. There's one person in particular I know is going to give me the 3-page book reply to this. I'm waiting on it. But you can't convince me otherwise on anything I just said. Does anybody know anybody out there that's into this kind of stuff? Maybe we can get a Kickstarter going. Maybe we can get a campaign to talk to Hyperkin. I don't know. Maybe we could try to convince them. Maybe I'll just send them this video. I want my RetroN, whatever the fuck, or whatever you want to call it. I'll call it the old farts gaming system. I don't give a shit. I just want the same convenience that everyone else has with all this other junk. So that's it, guys. So I hope everyone's doing well. Thank you so much for listening to this rant. It's been a little bit since I've done anything gaming related. I know a lot of the Milieu Macabre stuff. I also have another video I'm going to upload as far as the second part to my retro junk box, what I actually put in. That should be coming up sometime in the same time period. I'm just waiting for it to return home to its origin, because I want it to be a surprise when it opens up, because some of that stuff is still in there. So guys, I hope everyone's doing well. Thanks for listening and watching as always. Take care. Bye-bye. Hey, what's up, folks? The Creep here. Thank you, as always, so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe for more. You can follow The Creep on social media, and feel free to reach out at any time here on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Creep would love to hear from you. And as always, thank you, take care, and bye-bye.